back and forth if this is good for innovation. Is it going to harness the speed of innovation, how we use technology, or is it going to make it, is it going to increase the creativity for kids because they get to focus and they...
But was it specifically when there is a classroom, or was it in general in the school that you were not allowed to use a phone?
I think it was in school in general.
Really?
I'm not sure, but
because I can see
so.
it in classroom, right? I mean, if you have a teacher, teaching something, then someone is distracted by using the phone and texting on social media or something. That's not a good thing, right? Mm-hmm. Would you agree, or?
Yeah, I agree, especially in the classrooms, that I think that if you have a distraction, it's hard to get in deep focus. You will get distracted by, texting friends. I mean, this goes back I had my first 3310 when I was a kid, and, I spent a lot of time, Nokia phone, texting friends all the time, and it was really distracting. So I think that's a good thing. In Menlo Park, a lot of my friends have kids in school there. They are not allowed to have phones at school at all.
In Silicon Valley,
in Silicon Valley
is the general actually restricted.
Exactly.
Even in the tech capital, of course not.
Up to if you are in high school, you're allowed to have your phone, but for younger ages, up to I think at least 12 or 13, you're not allowed to have your phone at all at school. And I think
that's more strict than we have today.
Yeah, exactly. We are usually not that strict in Sweden.
I mean, my kids, they check in their phone.
When they go in a class.
So the typical thing, the way it works in Värmdö kommun is municipality is like more or less it's each school has this leeway how they do it. In the schools my kids went to, they have a box. And when they go, välkommen, when they come in through the classroom, everybody, all the children puts the phone in the box. And then when they walk out of the classroom, they get it. So they can use the phone in school as like in the schoolyard or whatever. But in the classroom setting, they check in their phone.
Well, that sounds okay.
I think it's quite okay. And I think when you pick this apart, I mean, like, is it the phone or is it social media? Is it the phone or is it the distraction? You could argue we could use the phone as a tool where we then can use it as a calculator. A smartphone is a tool, right? I think it's the whole distraction that is so hard to control what they're doing on the phone. And so this is one angle. The other angle, I think, is obvious. We really, even in the age of AI, want the children to become more and more proficient in the social interaction.
Yeah,
I can't see a society where we don't interact with each other. So there's a purpose of interacting with your peers, communicate, learn all group dynamics, and then maybe a toolbox. We talked about this, that can amplify, or you can have your personal companion and all that, which is a great tool. But then now we're moving into AI and not only the phone use.
What's your thinking about using?
Yeah. So the reason why I'm so engaged in this topic is actually, I moved into Silicon Valley my first time 9 years ago. We created a filter for social media feeds. We did actually machine learning where we collected, we aggregated data from a lot of different social medias, and we made the topic around what you like and what you don't like in 5 different categories. So it's basically a filter for your social media feed. And back then, everything was in a chronologic order. So it was just, everyone you follow, everything is posted. And now everything is filtered. But back then it was a new thing. And we worked a lot, very closely with Facebook, now Meta, Instagram, and Twitter. And we were doing this together with them, and what we realized back then was that their algorithms and what they are doing is really doing everything it takes to catch your attention. Right. And now, I have 2 kids myself. I try to spend the hours to prioritize what I do when my brain is working the best, which is between 9 and 10 in the morning, and then I prioritize in the afternoon to do like less heavy lifting tasks. So therefore I'm thinking of, kids when they are in school, they shouldn't be distracted by the phones that are built to catch their attention. It's an addiction.
Do you enforce some kind of screen time restrictions on your kids today?
Yes. My kid, she's turning 4. She loves to watch, Bolibompa games and YouTube and such. And she's not allowed to do that more than a few minutes a day.
Minutes?
A few, so less than half an hour. And
gosh, I'm a bad parent.
I learned.
But your kids is older, right? So it's
I actually learned the hard way. So when she was 1, she watched a lot. We saw it as a really, easy way to put the screen up when we were out on, a restaurant with the first kid. We wanted to enjoy life as well. So we thought, okay, just put on some screen time, and it's who cares?
Perfect.
It's
Babysitter.
fine. She loves it. Yeah. And then we saw, okay, she's not picking up the language. She's not learning to speak as fast. And she was really, really early. And then when we started with phone time, she just stopped learning new things. And then we soon realized, okay, and I read, it was a big news article about how bad it is with screen time, especially for kids under 2 years old. So I reduced it 100%. And after a few months, she was... Yeah, so we took it away 100%. So no
this is strong anecdotal evidence. We want real research, real evidence. But sometimes
there was a paper actually recently.
Yeah.
You don't know that because it said actually people, not kids, but people in general, become stupider when they use AI in this case.
Yeah, at MIT study.
Yeah. But it also was kind of nuanced. I mean, it depends on how you use AI. I mean, if you use AI properly, I think they said that in the study as well. If you use it properly, it actually can increase intelligence and knowledge, at least, right?
I actually read that article. It was they measured the brain activity from people using a lot of ChatGPT or people using no AI at all, and I was surprised because what I see is like I interact back and forth with AI, so I feel like, okay, I'm learning and I'm creative. But the study, even though it's quite small, showed that you are actually not activating as big part of your brain. So I actually sent it to one of the most famous doctors I know in Sweden, Marcus Lingman, and he.
I know him.
Yeah, he's great. The AI Swede of the Year, I think, 2000.
Västra Götalands
region Halland.
Halland. Sorry.
And then he said, even though it's a small study, I think they are right. So I think that is really interesting.
It is. But okay, so just to close this topic a bit as well, I mean, phone is one thing, and I can certainly see if you use it, it will really distract, the classroom experience and remove the learning possibilities for kids. And then, of course, if you use AI on the phone in the classroom, it also would be distracting. But what about AI in general? And just to give some more background here, we have a collaboration with University of Oslo, and that in that university, they are not even allowed to use AI to write reports or homework and things like that.
This is thesis now. You're talking about a master thesis or something like this, right?
Yeah. But what do you think about this? So I think we can agree that in the classroom, probably not a good idea. But what about for other type of work, homework, reports, etc.?
I mean, I see why it's so easy to just say that you're not allowed to use it at all, because then you're doing everything as you have always done it as a teacher. But I mean, it's a part of everyday life for everyone right now, and I still think that you can see, it's not like you will prompt something and then you will get the perfect example from the first time. And by doing this back and forth, you will actually create something that is really good in the end. And that is real life, when you start to work and when you're in real life afterwards, after school, you will be able to...
Exactly, it should prepare you for the real life.
You need to be prepared for what is going to be like hygiene factor.
Exactly. Yeah. That's why I thought it was stupid when, a lot of people were really against that our prime minister used AI as a second opinion. That was funny.
We can come back to that one.
We should, speak more about that. But I hope you thought the media really misportrayed it badly, right?
Yeah.
So weird. I would be more annoyed if our prime minister didn't use AI.
Exactly. That would annoy me I think that was really showing that we have two type of people in Sweden, and that they don't really actually realize what is AI and how it's used and why you should use it. And I mean, I thought that was really an eye-opening.
We should come back to this, but the debate is skewed in the wrong way, because it's not if, but it's how.
Exactly.
It's that simple, right? So of course you should use it, but how should you use it safely and all this?
Yeah.
If you don't know how to use it, of course it will be a bit problematic. But if you know how to use it, then the positive benefits is huge, right?
Yeah.
My assumption is that I think he's quite tech interested.
Actually,
so I guess he. I heard so.
Yeah, and he actually did a nice proposal for a budget for AI for coming 5 years, 500 million per year. But let's not go there yet. But so many interesting topics, and I love the coming discussions with you. But before that, very welcome here, Minna Sandberg, to the AIAW Podcast.
Thank you.
The founder and CEO of Swenode.ai, and I will let you describe shortly what they do. But also you have received like scholarships and prizes from Wallenberg and being a top grade student, etc. So really, really appreciate you coming here and giving us your thoughts. But to start with, perhaps you can give a quick introduction. Who is really Minna, and how did you get into the position you have today?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you. I started in Gothenburg as a student at Chalmers, and I have always been very interested in technology. My brother, he built his first computer. I have a twin brother when he was 10, and I have been traveling to Silicon Valley as a kid with my father when he was doing some exchange studies there. And so for me, it has always been very natural to think of the world as a global place. I started at Chalmers. I founded my first machine learning startup. We got some really good traction, moved over to Silicon Valley in a small team. And
friends at Chalmers, or the startup team?
Yeah, the team was me, my brother, he is an AI engineer, my twin, and then his best friend. So that was the developers, and then we had some other friends as marketing, scaling, CEO. So we were 6 people.
Wow!
Just super
what was
exciting.
the name of the company?
Picador.
Okay.
So it's and what we did was basically we aggregated data from different social media feeds, and we built a filter that learned what you liked and what you didn't like, and then we categorized it and prioritized the feed based on the usage. You could also do some back then cool features like switching accounts and stuff that wasn't doable in Twitter and in Instagram. So you got everything in one app, and so heavy users thought that was really cool, because then you could follow so much news on Twitter and you can get it all like prioritized based on the like. So we used the Tinder swipe function for like and dislike.
But this is interesting because it's so early. I mean, like now it's filtering, and we don't even know. We know about the filter bubble and the algorithms is all over, but not then.
That was the cool thing. So we were invited when we came over. We won the Chalmers Ventures startup camp, and we went over to San Francisco. But
you've been there before, right, with your dad, right?
That was my first time. So we were invited by Twitter to come and join and sit at their headquarters, and we did everything from like talking to the developers, trying to build stuff together, but also played ping pong and stuff like that. So typical things. Started to spend time at Facebook and working together with them. What we didn't realize was that they just wanted to learn so much from us, pick our brains, and then they our biggest input to the app was actually from Facebook. So they one day just shut us down and built it themselves.
Really?
Yeah. So we learned the hard way, but it was a really fun journey.
Been there, done that by Google actually once. So,
yeah. And then I become the junior fellow from junior Wallenberg fellow at the Nordic Innovation House. So Wallenberg has an opportunity for one young person a year to be a part of their team at the Nordic Innovation House and work with kind of promoting Sweden, helping with startups and larger companies to succeed and open doors in the US. So I did that, and then at the same time I studied courses in deep learning, neural networks, and at Stanford, and built up like half a year of courses that was part of my master thesis. And
so
then,
all this is happening before you even taken your master thesis and finished off in Chalmers.
Yeah, that's true.
This is the last year in Chalmers.
Exactly. So I actually studied at the same time that I was a fellow. I also took courses at Stanford and built my own like year. So I did that at the same time as a part of the studies at Chalmers. And then I also did my master thesis at Volvo Cars when they opened up an office in Silicon Valley, and they asked around like, who knows AI? And people said Minna knows AI and she knows startups. So they wanted to learn how to invest in startups, and they failed. So they started just like, I started to look at why didn't they succeed, and then we build a process for how to invest in.
Was that your master thesis?
Yes, so you can exactly. My master thesis was about how to invest in startups, and in a successful way, and that was kind of the baseline for Volvo Tech Fund, as it's known of today. So there were 3 people when I started, and it was 75 when I ended 6 months later. So it was like a fast-growing startup.
And how what happened with Swenode? Can you? What was the origin of that?
Yeah. So. I mean, I always been back and forth in Silicon Valley. So after being at Volvo, I also worked in a Norwegian startup. I worked with larger companies, Swedish companies. So I've been both in different parts of the ecosystem, but always one leg in Sweden and one in Silicon Valley. So I before I started at Swenode, I actually was responsible for something called Intech, which is heavy industry in Sweden, how to connect that to Silicon Valley, which is the first strategic platform that Nordic Innovation House has from the Swedish team. And we did some really good results. So we had 12 collaborations in 1 year with larger companies in Sweden within mining and heavy production that got really good AI collaborations. And 3 of the companies actually moved to Sweden and opened facilities here. So after that, when Vinnova decided to open a focus area on applied AI, I got the question to drive that initiative. So I'm now the director and driving that. We have been doing it for 2 years, and the aim is to strengthen the connection between Sweden and Silicon Valley within applied AI, and to build ecosystems on both sides. And our main target groups is fast scaling startups and industry companies.
So how's Swenode funded?
So Swenode has a funding from Vinnova. It's a strategic initiative, but we also have funding. So it started with, it's a 3-year initiative. We had 100% for first year, and then it's decreasing over the years. So we also have funding from our industry companies. So we have an industry program where leaders from big companies like Saab, Ericsson, LKAB, Boliden, and we have a collaboration with Combient, where we work very intensively with industry leaders over years. So we have, for example, Petter Perdovar and Elias here in the program. They go to Silicon Valley several times, but we also work a lot here in Sweden on increasing the collaborations with the startup ecosystem, and to make sure that we increase the usage of AI in a greater extent in the larger companies that we have in Sweden.
Because you have your beautiful T-shirt on you. the Silicon Valhalla T-shirt, and we can come back to that.
Yeah.
But it's both about the connection with the startup community in Silicon Valley. But as I understand, Sweden is now also focusing more and more to do the same, but in Sweden.
Exactly. So what the aim is not, what I see is that you can get a lot out of Silicon Valley, but what we don't want to move Sweden to Silicon Valley. Exactly. That would be like the biggest failure. Exactly. So it's more about, I see the huge potential in Sweden right now. In January, we had a live demo with Legora, and we had Anton Osika from Lovable, and we had Sana on stage. And it was the first time ever where I felt like, okay, we have Silicon Valley in Stockholm. It's really happening. And
do you agree with Anton's view here that it's about the generation of first level founders, Daniel Ek and Joel, etc. And now they spawned to Depict, and now that's what's happening now. We see the generation that one startup becoming hyperscaler feeds the next generation.
I think that's
and this is what's happening, and what Silicon Valley is really good at.
Yeah, that's one part of it. I mean, what I always seen in Silicon Valley is that it's all the ecosystem is all about all the different components. Like we have the really good universities that bring in talent from all over the world. We have the hyperscalers that have, I mean, NVIDIA has 17,000 people with PhD and higher within AI. So it's amazing. We have Google and others, and people work around 10 to 12 months in average in Silicon Valley at one company, and then they switch. So if you work at Google, if someone says like, I work at Google, they're not really proud about it. It's saying like, it's the same as in Sweden. If you say I work at Volvo, it's not like you're proud about it. It's more strange. Like I do it right now, but I have a dream of doing a startup. So as soon as they got a really good idea, they start something, they get investment fast, and then they fail fast as well. And that's what I see in Stockholm right now, that we have a really I mean, the inspiration is really good from Sana and from Lovable and others, but we also have the closeness between some early stage funding starting to really attract people here in Stockholm, the angel investors that actually paid forward, but also the mentality of helping each other out all the time, and the kind of underground networks that are growing. But
yeah, I mean, let's get back to the Swedish Valhalla, etc. And that topic. But can you just elaborate a bit more? What does really Swenode do? I mean, how do they make the collaboration better in some way?
Yeah, so we do organize, or we are very small, so we co-organize everything with people that are aiming for the same thing. But we have a lot of collaborations with big companies like NVIDIA and Google and OpenAI and others. And we try to bring startups from the Nordics and especially from Sweden to be a part of these initiatives. We also organized around last year, we had 20 events. So we do have
events
a lot of,
like what?
Like meeting, like meetups and in Silicon Valley, but also at larger conferences like NVIDIA GTC. We did a lot of VIP activities, and we actually make sure that both startups and industry companies get as a place to, both be shown because we sit with the agenda together with the companies to see that, okay, how can Sweden be one of the ones that are picked to be showcased? But we also make VIP opportunities, so a lot of different, startups can come and meet the best VCs in the world. They can meet F500 companies. So these type of things which could actually lead to real business. And we attract on 6 different categories. So business opportunities, how many business opportunities it leads to, how many investments, how many strategic investments for Sweden. So we have a lot of measurements and how many people we engage. So we started with around 300 people a year, last year 1,500, and now we hope for 3,000 people that are actually engaged physically in our activities, which is a lot because we're only like 2 people.
And for a startup that's interested in getting involved in this, what should they do?
So they go to my webpage and fill out a very simple form. Then they take a call with me. And I try to, in only 30 minutes, try to understand what will take this startup to the next level. So if it's if it's a B2B company, we could connect them with opportunities like new customers. We can connect them. We have 50 early stage AI investors in Silicon Valley in our network, so we can connect them to people there, but also involve them in all the different activities. We have 4 or 5 delegations in October, and we work very closely with the big conferences like CES and NVIDIA GTC, so we can make sure that they are part of that ecosystem.
And it's a free service paid by Vinnova, more or less? Or?
Yes. So for startups, they don't pay anything. They pay their own travel expenses, which is important because you have to have some skin in the game. But besides that, it's open for anyone to, if you are ready for it. So that's also a good thing. If you only have an idea, you're probably not ready for the very expensive prices in Silicon Valley. But if you have some type of traction or funding, I think you could be ready for it. So yeah.
Awesome. Perhaps we can move into the topic we already been discussing a number of times here, but the term Silicon Valhalla has been floating around more and more, and you even have a T-shirt with that as well.
And I got one too now.
As well. Can you just describe what is really Silicon Valhalla?
I mean, so Silicon Valhalla, I think it's a funny term because, in Sweden, I think what people are referring to is that we could see the new Silicon Valley in Sweden and in the Nordics. So I don't think Silicon Valley is only Sweden. It's actually the Nordics, but it's actually mostly in Sweden.
But Valhalla, then referring to
Valhalla is the Nordic mythology. So
exactly.
It's
Vikings kind of reference, right?
Yeah, all the heroes kind of... that's what you referred to earlier. So if we have a few unicorns, we were earlier the most unicorns per capita in Sweden. So that type of, I think that refers to kind of the gods and the in Valhalla as well. But what I love with it is that we are seeing something. We have a movement in Sweden that I, at least in my 9 years, have never seen before. The pays forward mentality, the investments that are, and the really fast growing startups. And with Legora and Lovable, we can actually see that AI makes it possible to be in Sweden and to scale globally. You don't have to be in Silicon Valley anymore. And that is new. And we have never seen any investments, large investments in companies without moving the headquarters before. So that's really the movement.
And I remember a quote from Anton Oseke in Lovable. He said once, or we got the question about, why didn't you go to San Francisco and launch your company there? And he said, I probably would have received more money there, but I don't want to do it. I want to stay in Sweden and Europe. And this would be interesting to hear your thinking. Should a startup, focus on Sweden and Europe, or should they aim to move to San Francisco or collaborate with San Francisco or Silicon Valley? He said basically that, maybe paraphrasing, but he said that if you were to move to San Francisco, of course, you would be more or less nobody, and it's really hard to compete in the high competition that do exist there. But in Sweden and Europe, you're a champ, right? Yeah. He's a star, and he really is, right? And in that sense, it's actually easier and better, and you can actually grow and have more traction if you actually do focus on Sweden and Europe. Would you agree with that? Or?
I mean, I totally agree. He is the big fish in the small bowl here, and in Silicon Valley, as you say, the competition is really hard. It's so hard to hire really good engineers, and he managed to build a culture around really young people that are open to work, even though it's vacation time. They have hackathons in the weekends, evenings. So he managed to really bring the best people in Europe to his...
Perhaps some Silicon Valley mentality also back to Sweden then? Or?
Yes. I mean, a few things that is really special with Lovable is that they have a lot of angel investors, like a lot of people...
I know.
Exactly. So a lot of people that is typically the Silicon Valley way, like bringing people on board, doing it together, pay it forward, do it together as a movement. Yeah. So that I really love that.
And this really, I think this movement, pay it forward, I heard now a couple of times. Mm-hmm. Even I was down listening to Anton today. Yeah. I was thinking that would make sense for this podcast in Kungsträdgården.
Yes.
And they talked about that. I think that was even the title. The ending title was "And Giving Back, Pay It Forward," right? I think this is also a big portion of how we need to understand Silicon Valhalla, or at least I have taken this community thinking, or that we are growing as a community, and some, like you will, we put in some money, Sebastian puts in some money, etc., etc. But it's not only that; it's the community, it's the network, helping with the network, helping, and this is quite cool what is happening, but. When did that start, or when did that emerge? Because you say it's different in the 9 years. So what happened here?
In the AI era, at least. I mean, we have that with Spotify and others early. The movement was really, the innovation we are strong in innovation in Stockholm, and we've been known for being one of the most innovative parts of the world for a very long time.
Yeah, and we recently ended up, I think, in number 2 in Europe.
Exactly. Right? So we are still like top in the world. We have a very high digitalization. We use digital tools. We're always the try it out market for any product. So we have everything, and it's a really nice way of, it's so nice to live in Sweden. It is really good. But
we are lacking behind in AI usage, I believe, though, compared to other countries in Europe and other places. So in some ways it's not perfect, right?
No, it's not. And I think, so what I see the perfect like Silicon Valhalla is that we see a movement right now that a lot of people never traveled to Silicon Valley, like really good founders from Stockholm are starting to travel back and forth a lot. So there's also like go into Silicon Valley, meet the best investors, mentors, inspiration, and also like other professionals, and then bring that back to Sweden. We have almost 100 founders from the Nordics coming the first week of October to Silicon Valley together with investors. So it's a lot of movement back and forth right now, and that is what is the cool thing with Silicon Valley. Like we take the best from Silicon Valley, but we build here. And
this is the build mentality here, I think is important.
Yes.
And I guess also if we get a portion of the capital that do exist in Silicon Valley and get that to Valhalla, that could be a really big thing and good for Valhalla, right?
Yes. Yeah, definitely. We just discussed before I came here today, the founder's house, mentality on the same street over there. Yeah. If we have, we should have like a Swedish founder's house in San Francisco, and we should make this bridge even closer because there's so much to gain from having the strong paid forward network of Swedes even stronger there in San Francisco, and take the best, cherry pick, and but build here. We have so much talent from the universities that we should take advantage of.
I think it's a really big strength that we have in Sweden and Europe, and Sweden especially, I think.
Yeah.
Actually, right? So lots of talent.
That's one of the biggest differences I see, though, that in Silicon Valley, if I tell anyone from NVIDIA, Meta, whatever, that I know the best person in the field within AI, AG or AGI, or health or whatever from Stanford, I say, okay, the best person, the best professor, I can set up a meeting, and they will clear their calendar in seconds just to be there. So there's really a thing in Silicon Valley where there's nothing that is has a higher priority than meeting the best researchers. And Apple and Google and others, they sponsor billions of dollars to have a very close connection with Stanford. And Stanford also have a business model where all the researchers need to spend 30% of their time on consulting. That brings back to Stanford.
This is a topic in its own, the difference in academic system and those thinkings of collaborations.
Yeah.
Where Stanford is maybe not unique, but they are very, very good at this. And in Sweden, it maybe doesn't work exactly the same. So we can also learn. I'm saying Silicon Valhalla. How can we get the Swedish universities as part of it? I mean, like, if you really talk about the ecosystem, all these dots needs to connect if you want to understand the magic of Silicon Valley, right?
Yes.
So I think it's a really good point, Henrik. And I think, we can learn a lot from Silicon Valley here in Valhalla in how universities work. We have Jan Bosch, from Gothenburg. He's trying to do something like this, but to get both the universities to do consulting, as you say, but also to make the industry and the companies do more academic research, which all these kind of tech giants do to an extreme, is something that we can do more, I think.
I love your anecdote. There's nothing more than if you can talk with the top-minded researcher, clear a calendar.
Yeah.
I mean, like, put that in the Swedish context. Does it really work like that?
No. I mean,
call McKinsey, call Gartner.
Exactly.
Why the fuck do you call Gartner when you can go to Jan Bosch?
Yeah, exactly.
In reality,
Yeah, true.
And the truth is both ways, because if you talk to a professor in Sweden, they're like, no, I don't want to work with industry. It's not like, it's not
the academic.
Exactly.
Pride,
So some pride of doing research without any connection to real world examples.
No, I'm doing foundational research.
Basic research.
Exactly. Basic research is the most beautiful thing you could do as a researcher in Sweden, but it's totally the opposite. So, I mean, we work very closely with Stanford, and they have studies paid by Apple, by Google, and we work together with them. But in Sweden, that is something different.
Yeah, it would be amazing if we can learn.
What a rabbit hole we have here.
Yeah.
Let's not go into this one.
No,
but we should continue. I mean, like, there are so many angles here. Should we move on, or do we?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I mean, like, so what is this with the investment in collaborations with NVIDIA and Dell Technologies, and how something that we sort of picked up on, but could you clarify? This sounds very cool, very interesting.
Yeah, so that was one of the companies from our industry network.
Yes.
So Iron is
Iron.
So that is it's one of the companies in our network that we work very closely with. They opened a factory in a data center or AI factory in Lidköping, actually, not Linköping. That's the funny part. It's Lidköping.
And that was big. It is made in normal news.
Yeah,
this was big news in Sweden, of course.
It was big news because it's a big amount.
It's a big amount.
And they work very closely with companies like NVIDIA and Dell. They co-invested, and they also have some really interesting collaborations with OpenAI that will be announced soon, I hope. So some really cool things. But the niche is for them is that they are building safe clouds. So they really, instead of doing on-prem, they should do safe clouds in Sweden. That's their strength. So they are part of our industry network, meaning that we travel to Silicon Valley back and forth for a long time. They have a lot of customers in the US, but now they could be the safe alternative for Swedish industry as well.
They build on top of the American clouds then, but do a safe version on that, or how does it work?
No, they have the data centers in Sweden.
Yes.
And instead of installing on-prem at facilities, they have their data center there in Lidköping, and they will open it in other places as well. They have one in the US as well.
Yeah, so together with NVIDIA and Dell, if you look at the hardware story.
But
and then
what about the software and the top stack that you need to have on top of the hardware in the data center?
I mean, they do they work with anyone, but they do work, of course, the software stacks that NVIDIA have. They are in close collaboration with them. They can use them, but their niche is that they want to be very price competitive. So you could get much more using their software and hardware than any competitor. They should be
But is a cloud service mainly for AI, or is it more general kind of cloud service for software?
Mainly for AI.
Yeah, okay.
And one big thing is defense, of course, but there is other areas.
But sometimes, I get a bit annoyed with this, and sorry to say that, but we've seen a lot of investment from Europe and EU Commission and also Swedish investments in AI specific and also research specific data centers or HPC clusters, where they say, yeah, you can train your model here, but you can't do anything else. You can't serve it here. You can't use
Can't do inference even.
No, you can't do the inference here. Then you have to move to some other place. And if you need hardware for other things than AI, then do something else. And I think, that's not really how a company should work. I mean, they need to have everything integrated.
Yeah.
And it's not like you train once and then never do it again. You have more of an agile iterative loop here where you use it in production and then continuously improve. And how could you switch between a cluster that is only for training and only for AI when you have the cluster otherwise for the rest of the software and for inference purposes elsewhere? To me, it doesn't make sense.
I think that comes from that we are an industry country. In Silicon Valley, it's like software born, software kind of, it's from Silicon Valley. So they would never even think of that in that sense.
Right, exactly.
But we are a production country. We are producing a lot of really strong things, and we should be proud of that. But you can't think of software as you think of building a car or, producing something, because it's not like 3 or 8 years of a straight line of
it's not waterfall
exactly. That's not how it works, but we try to do it in the same manner, and that's why it's not efficient, or it's not even working.
But is Iron's business idea a little bit different here, because we are referring to the HPC setup a lot, and the HP academic setup, and which is literally we can prove it works, but then you need to figure out how to operate it. We don't do that. Or is Iron different here? Because I can see how they now trying to do something where they want to become the production environment.
Yeah, they want to exactly. So they want to offer compute as a service. So they want to you can use it whenever you want. That's the big idea, the big announcement they did on Almedalen. I don't work. I'm not a part of the Iron team, but I think what they're trying to do is doing something different, which is always, it's always good. How if it's going to work, we'll see.
Yeah, and now circle back to what is Swenode's contribution in this, or what So we're not talking about them, we're talking about you. So what did you do, or it's a good example.
Mm-hmm. So what we do with them is we bring them closer to the Silicon Valley ecosystem, and also together with the leading industries in Sweden. So they are part of this movement. We travel together to Silicon Valley many times a year. They were actually at NVIDIA GTC. They got to meet Jensen and had some oysters with him at the party. These type of opportunities. So we promote them in the
So
in
what
global
happens
setting.
now, which is a big deal, has been a journey, and being part of this community and Silicon Valhalla, if you want.
Yeah,
it has facilitated that this journey. It's not the journey, but it's facilitating the journey.
Yeah.
Is that a way to put
yeah, exactly. They got actually, I don't know how much I'm allowed to say, but they got some really good businesses with a few of the biggest companies we have in Sweden from this. So working actually back to Silicon Valhalla, learning from Silicon Valley, but actually applying it in Sweden.
So it's not only about the facilitation as such, but it's actually creating an arena where matchmaking can happen for real.
Yes, and we see a lot of the companies that are part of our AI Connect program, which is for scale-ups and startups. They have I follow up frequently because we have we're measured on KPIs, and we see that when something happens when you travel together, right? So when we take both the bigger AI leaders and CTOs and CEOs from companies, and then we bring the startups, and we do things. For example, we brought around 35 startups and 25 startups, larger companies, to Paris before summer with as a part of we built a Swedish event at the GTC conference in Paris. We saw that right away businesses started to happen between the startups and the bigger companies, and we do that in Silicon Valley. And so bringing them together in Sweden and abroad, that creates the opportunities. That's the ecosystem thinking here.
Great.
Awesome. And I think you said something interesting before, which is, of course you want to increase with Swenode the collaboration between Silicon Valley and Silicon Valhalla. But in some sense, you don't want to make Valhalla the valley either. So perhaps you can just elaborate a bit more. What are really the differences, and what should we potentially try to bring to Valhalla, and what should we not, so to speak?
Yeah, I mean, everything is not better in Silicon Valley. I think we have some really good things in Sweden. We have a lot of talent coming from universities that I hope to bring closer to the AI ecosystem of builders. Lärarundantagen, that's unique, that you can actually own your own IP. That's rare. That is not happening in the US. Stanford owns 2% in all the companies that come from Stanford, which means that they are the biggest fund in the world. So
people employed at universities actually can own their own inventions, more or less, in Sweden, but that's not usually the case in Valley. Right.
No, I think it's unique for Sweden. So Sectra, for example, in Linköping, they are a huge company. They built it as researchers on paid time, and then now they own it themselves. So that is unique, and it's actually really an opportunity that we should take advantage of better in Sweden. So deep tech, really. Yeah. I mean, also the cost of living, it's extremely expensive in Silicon Valley. I mean, a 2-bedroom is 100,000 Swedish crowns. So it's, it makes sense to be here with kindergartens, with school for free and everything. So it's really a good way of living, and it's not, you have a lot of opportunities here. What I think is the best is to have the possibility to take advantage of the network there, building relationships, and then bring and build back in the Nordics.
And you said it already before, if we simply push the Swedish companies on a highway to Silicon Valley and they leave, that's a failure. Because the real thing is to build our hub here at the same time.
Yeah, I think so.
I think so too.
If we can't, and there is a lot of really good programs like WASP, for example. They have people there 2 years at Stanford, and then they get the opportunity to move back. For people that
know, WASP is this big research program in Sweden that is, I think, about 6 billion Swedish crowns, which is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, research program we have. And they have a big focus on AI, of course, for that as well, right?
Yeah, they also have a postdoc program where you can study 2 years at Stanford, and then you can travel back to Sweden and get paid 2 years to find a job back in Sweden. So it's really an opportunity. So yeah, Wallenberg are doing a lot for Sweden, which is great. But also for the big companies. So a lot of the really big and famous Swedish brands that we have, they can get so much out of using AI in a greater extent. So traveling to Silicon Valley, but also getting a closer connection to the ecosystem here, back in Europe, is an opportunity for Sweden that I think would make a big difference when it comes to physical AI and the usage of AI within heavy industry and manufacturing.
And I think this is a good segue, because if we started with Silicon Valhalla and we started very much focused on the startups, you have done a lot which we would categorize as industrial AI, or even what physical and industrial AI, and which is really also about what I think VASP is all about, strengthening the really long-term standing industries and companies in Sweden. We don't want to be disrupted by startups all the time. We want to make sure that our great brands stay healthy, and in that sense, I think have a less disruptive world for most in Swedish society. But could you elaborate on the difference and what it means when we say we want to focus on physical industrial AI, and maybe how that differs in approaches?
Yeah, and I think examples is a good way of talking about it. I see here, I mean, for Sweden, the biggest money is really what you talk about here. The big companies should stay healthy. I mean, it's really, really important with scale up and building that ecosystem, because that is what brings innovation. I think it's rare that big companies create something good internally. Like,
from scratch is hard.
I don't believe in it, because we have a history of building hardware, not software. But what we have is that we have a lot of domain knowledge, and what is not very common in Silicon Valley is actually production or anything like that. So if you are a B2B AI startup in Silicon Valley, the only thing you need is Sweden. You need to apply your... Yeah,
this is our USP.
Exactly.
We have a USP here to export to them.
Yeah, and it's really unique. So if I come with the strong brand that we have in Sweden and propose a collaboration, that's the only thing they need to get their next investment round is to prove their technology with this strong brand, which is what we have. So there's a lot of opportunities. But if you look at from the Swedish side, for example, shipping, Stena have done a really cool project together with the Google DeepMind, where they could analyze satellite data and decrease the amount of traffic all over the world. And they save millions by doing so. So, and it saves it saves on the environment as well, because they don't have to travel or they don't have to wait outside of harbors, because it's so much better optimized. When it comes to logistics, we have one of the largest logistics companies or tracking companies here outside of Stockholm. They have tracked in the logistic inventory, so they could decrease up to 1 billion spare parts just by knowing when something is coming and where it is, to decrease the amount in all the different steps in the logistic chain. So that is like a few examples of how easy it is to actually optimize using AI.
And here we have an AI divide, that the companies that were great, but they don't really are great at software or machine learning, they haven't really embedded those capabilities in their companies yet, and this is of course how they stay healthy.
Yeah.
They have to.
Yeah, exactly.
And now, and this is a challenge. This is what I work with every day, to reform a company that is a physical company to have software in their DNA. It's not the same as AI and software sugarcoating, right? So now you start with collaborations, and you need to simply learn how to operate like a software company, I guess.
Yeah.
And I can sort of see how we can foster that or how we can support that. In my opinion, this is how I interpret industrial AI, that we need to not only work with the innovation, the invention, but also how to reform them by learning how to do it.
I mean, you can do a lot of really cool POCs or pilots, but that will not
be anything.
People
Prototype graveyard.
Exactly. We have that, and we have done that. But it really, that's why I brought so many delegations to Silicon Valley, so I would be sick of even counting them. But what I realized after a while is that I'm not doing that anymore. I will bring them into a 1 year program, and you have to be senior and you have to be like C-level at the company, otherwise you're not welcome. And the reason is because it takes time to change the organization. You have to think long term, you have to travel back and forth for many times, you have to interact daily. So you have to have experts that you build your own network and interact daily with this, experts from Silicon Valley to really understand what's all about.
I shouldn't talk with my voice, but it really excites me what you're saying now, because we can't be invention focused. We need to be adoption focused. Yeah. We need to basically think about, okay, the people that experiences this need to be people who then can go home and think about what they need to reform as well.
Yeah.
Which is like if you only meet the tech guys and it's super cool, but it cannot be. It ends up on the prototype graveyard.
Exactly.
You have to. Am I summarizing it?
And I'm thinking. I have been thinking maybe too much on this, but I think that you have to have someone accountable at the company. That's really the big thing. So instead of just like, okay. You have to have someone that feels like it's my job to change this entire organization to make it work to scale AI in a greater extent. That's my responsibility. I'm accountable. I will deliver that, because if you don't have that, no one will take that responsibility, and you will have like, ice cream and balloons.
But this is the big problem, right? You have someone responsible for the tech, and it ends up as a prototype.
Yeah.
And they got the innovation theater galore.
Yeah.
We did it, we built it, and it's great. But it wasn't in their responsibility or accountability to adopt things at scale, because that's a different story altogether. So what you're saying now, I think it's some big learning from making these networks work. But it's a big learning to take home to anyone who wants to innovate with data and AI in enterprise setting.
Exactly.
You need to think like that.
Yeah, exactly. And you have to be serious about it.
Yes.
And you have to put a lot of funding into it. But after the vacation, I went to Stockholm for 1 week to just meet with all the really good founders that I have been following for a long time, and kind of pick their brains on what can we do better in Sweden. And the B2B startups I met with, they said that for us, we cannot lose the time it takes to work with Swedish industry. And this is very sad. But to do a proof of concept for like 500K or 1 million Swedish crowns, it doesn't make sense. It takes so much time, and then after that, they have no plan or even intention to scale it. You have to have a scale first mentality, and you have to, the day you sign a pilot, you should already think of the next step. You should already have a scaling plan. This should only be the opener.
But this is the basic. Think big, start small, scale fast. If you don't have the think big in front of it, Jean Camus' maxim, it will not work.
And that's why the few B2B startups that are really good in Stockholm, they have the US and China and other places as their customer base. They don't even look at Swedish companies. But we can be better. So that's why I'm kind of bringing these groups closer together, because they should know of each other. And if we make that happen, we will be Silicon Valhalla. But we have to take advantage of, everything we really have in Stockholm. It's strong. And in Sweden.
So we need to learn a bit about the grandiose plans that perhaps the Valhalla people the Valley people are doing, and bring that to Valhalla, I guess, in this case.
Yes.
Before we leave Valhalla, what's your trajectory? What's your idea? What's your dream? And what is more concrete? Where are we going? Where are you going with Swenode? But also the vision. What's the short term, mid term? Where do you want to take this? What do you want to be part of building?
So I want to, for Swenode and for Sweden and the Nordics, I want to position the Nordics as the leading AI region of the world. Mm-hmm. And I want it to be in a global context. I want the entire world to see what we are seeing. And the step towards doing that is starting to think Nordic. I don't think we are big enough in Sweden. So connecting all the really fast-growing networks in the Nordics, there is actually a lot of drive from the VC networks in Norway, in Copenhagen. We have started to see a little bit what's happening in Stockholm. We're starting to see it there. We have in Finland a few initiatives that are really groundbreaking. So I'm putting a lot of effort into doing it Nordic, and also to use the big playgrounds and the connections that we have to show off what we have in the Nordics on a global setting. So one thing is, for example, at the big NVIDIA GTC conference in Santa Clara, we are bringing, last year we had around 100 companies. Now we're hoping for 800 companies and people from the Nordics. And we are showcasing success cases as building up a momentum prior to this. So that is the moment that I see. I can't do it myself. I will have to connect with all the different people in the Nordics that are actually building, actually doing stuff. But we one of the problems I think here is that we have so many small groups that are not connected.
Yes.
And just connecting them will make it so much stronger, is my belief.
But maybe that's a good, isn't that one of the okay, this is all fantastic. Mm-hmm. What's the blind spot? What's the problems? I think you said it. The disconnect between the different things is one of our problems because it makes us way weaker than we could be.
Exactly. So we have to, and we have started to see that kind of mentality by here in Sweden that is not really Swedish, which is kind of introducing people to each other and make this kind of take an AI coffee a big thing, or this initiatives.
So many people say that we're so good in collaborating in Sweden and the Nordics, and I don't buy it.
No.
I don't believe it at all. We're super fragmented.
We're fragmented
exactly.
as hell.
So we need to fix that, right?
This fragmentation piece is so obvious. I mean, like you even see it down in how we invest in AI factory and AI verkstan, and
Exactly.
it's fun. It's even funny, right?
Yeah.
And of course, on grassroots level, I'm and others are working to push them together. But but to build a community, to put it together, to connect the dots, hard focus work, and it doesn't come naturally, right? And in this sense, I don't think we are we are cliquey.
Yeah.
Even going to a bar in Sweden, we are cliquey compared to Australia.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
You can see it in the bar mentality.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good example.
And I agree. We don't, but we are we really like to be good at, we really like to be proud of Sweden. So that is kind of what will bring us together. And also the opportunities. There's a lot of buzz around, these fast growing startups that we see right now. People want to be part of it. The FOMO is definitely there. Yeah. I have never seen as many startups and founders traveling back and forth to Silicon Valley as it is now. It's like every week we have something happening. So it's definitely like, it's not about me at all. It's about all the different people that actually, they want to build this. They want to do it.
But you do amazing work, I must say, Minna. And I think we have all the preconditions really to make Valhalla a really great place. And we've done and seen so many companies actually do succeed here. But I think we can do more. And if we combine the positive aspects of the valley and bring it here, who knows what can happen, right?
Yeah.
But I must also applaud, like Silicon Valhalla is interesting, right? Ida puts out the logo. Someone was trying to trademark the logo, or and it was
exactly.
on
or
LinkedIn.
buy the domain.
Or buy the domain. Sorry, not trademark. Buy the domain, and it was an outrage on LinkedIn. No, this is not the fucking point.
Exactly.
And maybe that's the whole thing, right? Sometimes I feel like we are starting something, but at the same time, it's very important for each of whoever is starting to be the top dog.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, we are not promoting each other if we are not the top dog in this context. And what I feel with Silicon Valhalla is, this is the first time in Sweden where it's not so obvious that someone is trying to be the top dog in a certain ecosystem.
Exactly.
Because a true ecosystem doesn't have a top dog. Do you see what I mean?
Exactly. But I think it's... I think back to Lovable and others, like if a lot of people invest in it, and not only, they could invest in time, they could invest in being a part of the ecosystem, or actually be an angel investor. Like if that's, in Silicon Valley, people talk about this, a paid forward mentality. Yes, it is, but everyone gets something out of it, right? It's not like people help each other, but they do it because they know that that's expected, and that's what everyone else is doing, and that's why the ecosystem is so fruitful and why it works in a good way. But they always want to get something out of it.
Yeah, and that's okay. Right?
It's okay because it should be that's how it should work. Yeah. So in Sweden, I now when a lot of people say, oh, it's like 100 people that are investing in this company and it's super successful, and I can be a part of it and I want to do it, then people will engage and be a part of it. Now anyone can build, right? Yeah. So why not?
Cool. And with that,
it's time for AI News.
It's time
Brought
for
to
AI
you
News.
by AIAW Podcast.
So we usually have this kind of break in the middle of the podcast to just share some thoughts about recent news that we've heard and read about. So let's try to do a single or some few stories, each one of us. Minna, do you have something you'd like to talk about?
Yeah, so from big news, I think, for example, there had been a lot of discussions in Sweden on how much money we put into a few employees in Silicon Valley and the hype of that. I think that is really funny.
Yeah,
and it's a big hype. What's your thought about that?
No, but I guess you're referring to Meta then,
Exactly.
and the hundreds of millions in signing bonuses, etc., that they are pouring into a few or a single person. And it might sound super strange, but I heard you had more details about this, so I really love to hear it.
Spill the Silicon Valley gossip that sort of clarifies what this is really all about.
Exactly. So friends at Meta, they said that, oh wow, yeah, this is really good news. I mean, it's a hype. It's not true. It's basically the IP and I mean what they built. So it's more like, okay, you're thinking of like buying a startup, buying the technology, but also what the person know about, and that shouldn't come out or shouldn't leave the company. So it's really juicy. But that's typical.
It's really juicy, right?
And it's typical Silicon Valley that you want to build a news around something that is actually smoke. So sometimes you shouldn't believe everything you read.
Yeah. So in plain English, someone had done something really fucking smart, right? At another company, and how do you get a hold of that?
Exactly.
You buy the guy.
You buy the guy,
Or the
but
girl.
what exactly?
Or the girl.
The girl, thank you.
This was exactly. You can buy, in this case, a really young person. People think, wow, he must be amazing. Yeah, he is amazing, but
That is what he did, right?
Exactly.
He has done something and they want to do exactly that algorithm.
Very true.
Okay.
And just to give some more background on this, Meta went on a poaching spree, if you call it that, and they get, they try to get people from OpenAI, Google, Amazon, and so many more places, and just give them insane salaries and signing bonuses, and they got some people, but some of them actually went back. I must say.
Some went back, some refused, but obviously, if you're in the valley, people in one company know which engineer cracked it.
Yeah.
And okay, what tinkering did he do? We don't really know, but he knows. Okay, we need this tinkering. It's worth billions if we could do that tinkering with our system.
Yeah.
It's that simple, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's always been a thing with 10x engineers. Like, of course, that is a thing, but now we're talking about like 100x.
It's 100,000x maybe on some of these topics,
exactly.
right?
That's an alternative to traditional, we call it that, industrial espionage, right?
You were saying that. Let's not go there, but it's
But it happens.
But because we're in the world of AI and software, someone has figured out the fundamental way to tinker with something. I mean, like we have all this hype, so many scaling problems, so many fine-tuning problems. And, if you can get them right? And in the end, some of this stuff, even with the transformer, if I take the transformer, it's not that super I mean, like to do it first, right? But now when we have learned about it, it's not that. We know what it is. So all these things is happening all the time.
Yeah.
In all the different aspects.
Devils is in the details,
Yes,
So what's
exactly.
really published, that's one thing, but really to make it work, you need to have the details, and that's
Yes.
usually embedded in the people and the one that actually worked with it and used it for real.
And in the valley, people know exactly who did it.
Exactly. I mean, that's probably the change that I'm seeing in Silicon Valley right now, that people, the really good developers, and they will, have a crazy amount of, their salaries will be crazy, and I mean the tech guys is still a thing. I mean, they do hang out, they do see competition as a good thing, they spend time, that's why it's so expensive in this area, but then it's a lot of smoke as well.
Yeah, but in the end, this is a simple ROI. If we can get that guy and he can fix that, how much can we save, or what can we do with that?
Yeah.
Is that
I see Goran put up some stats here on the salary in Silicon Valley versus Sweden. I don't know. I want to read this even. I mean, it's kind of sad. But
one funny thing is that I have a few friends that moved to Silicon Valley because they sold their startups and they got some, in Swedish amounts, crazy money. But the thing is that now, they live in a quite small home. The standard is lower, much lower than we would have in Sweden. And they pay like $6,000 for each kid at kindergarten. And then they are, working 13 hours a day. So it's like the standard of life is, since everything's so expensive, they will be super rich if they move back to Sweden. But when they are still a part of this ecosystem, it's just like numbers rolling in and out on your account.
And anyone that's just playing the money game, I think they're going to lose in one way or form anyway. I mean, if you just want to make money, you can go on the street and sell drugs. I mean, and that's not really, I mean, anyone that's just going for that, it's not a good game to play.
Yeah, but let's see on the news. What's the next news?
Yes.
Any other news?
Do you have something? Or
We need to mention Sana and Joel, and even here we have a scoop. You at least you met with Matthias quite recently, right?
Yeah,
right
just
today,
like
even.
1 hour ago.
1 hour ago, right? So we have the latest, freshest on the Sana. So without saying anything, what's your take on the Sana?
Perhaps you should explain it.
You set it up, or you set it up, and you do it better.
No, please go ahead.
Okay, I mean, like, so Sana just got acquired by Workday. Workday is traditional, in my opinion, ERP system. Are they more HR? Are they more? Doesn't matter. Yeah. It's one of the big software vendors who sells B2B of software for big enterprise, and you use it in order to manage, your flows within your organization, transactional flows mostly. ERP is a good example of this. So Workday is a competitor to SAP in some ways, right? So why would so they went in and they bought Sana, and that
for $1.1 billion.
For
right?
$1.1 billion, right? Yeah.
I had that coming because I saw a few things that I think. So before the summer, Sana was announced as a big collaboration with NVIDIA at NVIDIA GTC Paris, and we saw the same with Silo. Like a few weeks before they was acquired by AMD, they closed a really big deal with NVIDIA, and NVIDIA is not only and the only case, of course, they closed a lot of other really important deals and did a lot of publications about it. And you see that the patterns when people have a focus on doing some really cool publications and then somehow they got bought. So I just discussed that before the summer that I that was my guess, but I think it's really important for Sweden because now what happens is that we bring that mentality back to all the other builders, all the people thinking of doing something like this. It's really important to have someone to look up to. So I think it's really good for Sweden.
But it's an interesting one now. Spotify went one way, headquarter and become Spotify. Klarna, they put themselves on NASDAQ. We can talk about that. They went to NASDAQ not long ago.
Exactly.
And they went that way. And here now we have a proper exit.
Yeah.
It's a little bit different.
An IPO is an exit as well, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it's an exit. Okay, sorry. They're all exits. But the IPO way versus now being acquired by what I would call a more traditional software vendor. Have we seen many of them?
Spotify did the same as Klarna, right?
The IPO way.
Yeah.
But on this magnitude, I mean.
No, but you can think, is this good or bad? If we take Silo AI or Sana Labs, getting acquired by a big American company. And in some way it's good because, it gets a lot of capital into the Nordics in some way. But
we need to say we have Sophie Nass
right.
was here on the pod. She's one of the early, do you know Sophie? No. She's one of the 3 co-founders, so she was in very, very early as the first marketing person in Sana. So the first marketing person, she was here. So we have Anton here. He's worth $4 billion. He's apparently worth, they say.
Yeah.
I think it's a trend. If they come here, then the company will
I was gonna go there.
Go unicorn.
Exactly.
So any cool people who hasn't made it yet, come here. We fix it for you.
I look forward.
Now you know what's coming.
Now you know what's coming.
That's cool.
No, but I guess it's a very positive thing that we have these kind of amazing exits for for Swedish startups that just scale. I think Sana went like 10x in 1 year or something in valuation.
It's one way of getting into the Nordics. Like it's not easy to scale here. Coming back to for example, with Silo, the network they have around in the Nordics of companies, I think AMD, it's actually the way of getting into that in a like natural way. It's a fast track.
What's the Workday logic? Sorry, why do Workday acquire Sana? What are they after?
Yeah, good question. Is it for internal usage? Is it just for improving their own way of working? I mean, if we break down Sonolab, I mean, they have, I think, two major things. I mean, in the beginning, they were more of an e-learning kind of platform, if I'm not mistaken.
And now they're assistants and agents.
Yes, now it's more an AI platform kind of service.
So my take, sorry for jumping, I think they want to get that. They realize software is changing. Software is going more coworker style UI. So they want to be good at that. This is one angle why Sana. The second angle Sana is that what Sana has been pivoting towards is enterprise learning on the fly.
Yeah.
So instead of, so how do we keep up with the pace? So if Workday is having more and more and more advanced features, they also need to have inbuilt learning of how to adopt those features.
Yeah.
So I think it's a double whammy of getting the AI agents or be able to take the Workday and making simply flipping that to agent style, plus the learning in order to drive the adoption.
Yeah.
But is it for internal use or for their products? I think it's for their products in this case.
I think so too.
I think so too. And I think it's
I think so too.
I mean, if you are just thinking like if they wouldn't do it, a lot of companies will not be around anymore when we see opportunities for coming back to Lovable and vibe coding and kind of also building. Anyone could develop anything right now. I mean, my father is 70.
Yeah, but don't hype it too much.
No, I wouldn't.
A lot more,
I mean, I'm not
But
only
not
referring to vibe coding. I'm thinking of like building and learning from getting your, ChatGPT to kind of give you support on, like, my 70-year-old father is kind of learning how to code right now.
It's an amazing teacher.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because he can get the feedback back and forth all the time. That wouldn't be possible otherwise.
But it is logical. If you flip it, Workday, imagine they haven't really gone fast enough on this route and they want agentic approaches and they want embedded learning. How the fuck can they do it better?
Exactly. So this is it's a fast track and it's also survival mode. They need to do it, otherwise they wouldn't be around, I guess.
Yeah.
So it's a good or bad thing. I mean, it's good for Workday. I believe it's also very strategic and good for them. But then what about Valhalla? Is it good or bad for Valhalla that they got acquired, do you think?
I mean, it will be a lot of... I think that the founders of Sana has been a very important part of building the Silicon Valhalla, and they are very active in a lot of the networks around it. So I think they will continue and hopefully
the next big thing.
Yeah, they will hopefully reinvest most of it, and
so they'll probably get the golden lock, for some years in Workday, but then probably spin up some kind of new thing, and with the capital they have, then
exactly
right?
angel investments.
So it's good.
It
right?
could potentially
I think it's
be good.
good.
As long as it all depends on how Joel and Matthias and everybody's dealing with it. But I think it could be positive.
Yeah, of course. Then, of course, I mean, that is one way of seeing it. It could be a problem that we have American companies and Chinese companies owning so much of Sweden. We've seen it.
Because, before we've said on this podcast, a big problem is that we have a lot of talents, we have good universities, we bring the people up, they have actually some capital and they have good startups, but then they get the brain drained by, a big American company that move them out of Sweden and Europe. Yeah. And this is partly that as well. So in some sense, I think so. But the question is then if we can keep some of the at least capital and if they can move on to something that actually creates work and prosperity in Sweden. And I hope it can, but in some sense it is a brain drain move, this one.
Yeah. And I'm comparing it, I mean, if we're thinking if they wouldn't be bought and they would continue to build and do an IPO later, would that be better? Like what would that give back to the ecosystem?
Exactly. And I'm thinking then, because
I think it would be better, by the way. But
yeah,
okay.
but
I think so too.
Yes.
But the big IPOs is Nasdaq. It's not in Sweden.
But still,
so they become American companies anyway.
No.
Yeah, but later.
I don't
you don't
think
think so?
No.
I think so.
they still can operate in Sweden and do the original business plan they had. Not so
Fair
for
enough.
for Sana or for Silo. So okay, that was a long topic, but very good one, I think. Perhaps one more. Should I do the boring? I think a small, but I think is interesting topic is the extreme focus on AI for coding. And OpenAI just released their GPT-5 version of Codex, their kind of AI-specific version of using AI for coding. And why is that interesting? It's just another model. Yes, it is. But for one, they said when they released GPT-5, it was specifically one of the most important part was for coding, but it didn't really perform that well. And it wasn't really better than Anthropic and the Claude models that they did have. But then they focus a lot now, and they potentially are betting. I haven't tried it yet, I must say, but it seems to really show how important coding is for the big AI labs. And in some way, I consider AI for coding to be one of the best metaphors or examples of what AI will be in the future. So for coding, you actually do have AI that can work with large amount of data, which it can do for many cases, but it can also do reasoning surprisingly well for coding purposes, and also agentic tasks already today for coding. Not so for other processes and business processes we do have, but for coding, yes. So in some way, you can see into the future, but see what you can do today when it comes to AI and coding.
So you can study what is happening here and understand the trajectory, which is then you can prepare for it better.
And I play around with it myself. I can see that I become this kind of agent manager in some sense. I became I had my own team of not people, but AIs. And I can tell them what to do, and I can just speak English to do so. I need to understand what to do. Otherwise, I would no clue of telling if they do something wrong or not. But I get personally my own team.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great metaphor to what we will see in 3-4 years for more or less any kind of process that you have in a business. Each human will have a team of people-ish or agents that they can use, and that will tenfold their productivity.
And hint, looking at the profile of what makes it work in software, we can kind of see the trajectory, which areas is it more suitable to do next and next, and which one is a little bit slower.
And this
is quite obvious if you look at the profile of the problem.
What I think is so interesting about this is that this was kind of the vision that OpenAI had very early. And they have this is at least very close to the vision that they had. I actually had the opportunity to meet OpenAI 1 year before they released ChatGPT, the first version, and I just saw the news. A lot of people were talking about it in Silicon Valley because it's, of course, Elon Musk, but also they got their hands on a lot of really big data sets from Meta, and somehow. Meta strategically, I think now afterwards, really released the data sets, and I went there, and then I was so convinced. That was actually one of the big reasons why Swenode was founded, because I went there and I then connected people from Vinnova with OpenAI, and I said, you have to go there. Something groundbreaking will come out from Silicon Valley, from OpenAI. I'm so sure. And they went there, and they also met with the team and met with a lot of others. And when then ChatGPT was released a year after, I think that was triggered why I was asked to be leading this initiative, because I could see that come.
So this was in 2022 or something?
Yes. Yeah. And then already back then, when we talked to the team, this was the story. They had a very strong vision very early, and they have been working hard to get there. I think the competition is, that's why they are succeeding. But I don't know if they will be leading forever.
No, I think OpenAI has trailed behind a bit, and and they think they will continue to trail behind, but we'll see.
Yeah, and they actually, Vinnova actually connected them with the AI Sweden, who have done this collaboration, and they got to test the GPT-5 due to that. So that was actually my contribution to Sweden to that story as well. So a few in Sweden were the first of testing that new model.
Awesome. Did we have something else, Goran, that you would like to bring up?
I will do just a 5 minutes rant and then we'll be done with it. I will not talk about work today because you can see this map and you will know why they need to stay ahead of the competition. But let's follow the money, because that is my part. So NVIDIA bought like 5 billion stake in Intel. That was a big one. This week.
And also the government invested in Intel, right?
Yes.
That's kind of interesting.
Well, Intel was falling behind a little bit behind AMD. So it's a very strategic move from NVIDIA. I think that they're getting like 3% stake or something like that within the company after the entire, what is called, deal is gone through. But it's very strategic because Intel has the packaging, it has the manufacturing and everything else in the United States. So it's a good investment. But bear this in mind because in the whole concept of what today I'm presenting is actually a little bit interesting. Then we had Microsoft now signed a 66 billion deal with to rent AI compute from N-Scale, that is in Norway. Right?
Yeah.
Keep in mind they already invested in Sweden. Sweden now has a number of data centers actually that are and AI centers that are happening here in Sweden. So the Nordics is actually becoming a little bit more as a, let's call it like an ecosystem for data centers and AI factories.
Yeah.
We have a good climate. We're talking about Silicon Valhalla, but that is the innovation and startup. But we need to also separate that we also have an industry that we need to take care of.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the industry is actually what makes the Nordic market to be so innovative. And as you said, that is the advantage. So these type of deals are actually helping the Nordic market to be very close to where the compute is and where the data is and etc. And that will give us and boost more capabilities and innovation in enterprise setting, not only in the Valhalla part. Then we had in Sweden, we had Echo Data.
Yeah.
That was a new deal as well. Echo Data Center secures 600 million.
Yeah.
It was something like that. Give me a second. Let's find where did it go? There it is. Swedish digital infrastructure provider Echo Data Center has secured 600 million euros in debt financing from Deutsche Bank to expand its AI data centers, it says on Tuesday, and etc. So this is actually two things that are happening in similar things that are happening in 1 week. And then I was very excited about this, and I was actually expecting this is going to happen. I was speaking with in our events, I was speaking with a lot of companies from telecom and etc. And telecom, it makes sense that they should be the new data center or the cloud providers. And we actually discussed this at large a couple of years ago back, because they're already very regulated. They have the infrastructure, they have relationship with public and private sector, and etc. And they have the 5G, they have the networks and everything else. So it makes. So this week, Telenor announced their first AI factory, which is basically a new service from Telenor that you can companies can actually tap into, and this it's all into this this year theme, which is sovereignty in Europe. Make mega great again, make Europe great again, thanks to Trump. So I think this is super good, and just shows that there is much more happening in the Nordics than just the Silicon Valhalla. It's really a right time to be in the Nordics when it comes to AI data and innovation, etc. So from all angles, public sector just got like a lot of money, so things are happening.
And the big investment from the Swedish government as well, like 500 million SEK per year in 5 years in a row. So it's a lot of stuff is happening. It's the best time ever, I think.
But keep in mind, all of these things also points out to one thing, that we want Microsoft invest in Norway because they understand the centralized, what is called data centers the business model doesn't work. So decentralized compute closer to the people that are innovating is the next thing to go. And we will see more from Google, we will see more from Snowflake and many others. So I think data centers and AI centers will happen. So the innovation will happen to the nearest clusters to where data and AI factories will be in the future. And we are blessed to be exactly where we need to be to innovate. So that's it. Let's move on.
Good rant.
Exactly.
Perfect. And if we could, Minna, I'd like to move a bit more into more philosophical topics, and perhaps also in general, if you start like this, you have a lot of insights into startups, I think specifically, but also larger enterprises. But still a startup that want to succeed, and you can see both from the Valley point of view, but also Valhalla point of view. Can you give some simple advice? What are the biggest mistakes? How could they potentially get in contact with you and get some good traction and become the next Sana Labs or Silo AI or Lovable or etc.?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, I usually think of it as very different processes depending on if it's a B2B or a B2C, or I mean, kind of a AI native scale up startup like Sana or Lovable. I see that is, or at least Lovable is a B2C product that is different. But if you look at from the perspective of B2C startups, I think you should have a global approach from start, meaning that you should have a global mindset. You should think big, otherwise
think big or go home or whatever.
Exactly. Don't do the mistake of spending all your time on one slow customer and in Sweden. At the same time, we have the opportunity of having a lot of really good companies here. So taking advantage of that is a dream that I think that I can support with, because we have the contact on a higher level at a lot of companies. So contact me.
Can I just slightly challenge you on that? Because I do agree, of course, that thinking big is super good, and you can have a huge customer base from that. But if I were to quote Elon Musk, we haven't even mentioned Elon here for some time. I think he gets angry with us soon. But he said something which is, if you are a startup, and perhaps have a B2C kind of agenda, then either you focus on having a huge impact for a small number of customers, or a small impact on a huge number of customers.
I agree.
Wouldn't that still make sense? So you could potentially, as a B2C company, still say that, but just for plumbers, we will make such an amazing experience. And that could be a fine business model as well.
But this is still global potentially, because if you go narrow but B2C plumbers, it could still be global beyond plumbers.
Yeah.
But I mean,
what I'm trying to say,
it's a bad example, perhaps.
Actually, you're commenting, but you're highlighting different aspects, but they're not against each other at all.
No, but there are examples. I think it was a bad example from my side, that plumbers. But still, you could think of something that it only applies to Sweden, or something that still could be worth for a startup to do potentially. Right?
Yeah. I mean, what I would do if I had like a B2B startup myself, then I would actually try to first, I mean, of course, you have to have a few customers and prove your products and stuff like that, and that you can do in Sweden. But as soon as possible, try to get as big customers as I can on a global basis, because if you have like one really big important customer, then you can easily get the second and the third, because that's how it works. It's like this
a big reference customer that get you started.
Exactly. And you can take the opportunity here because we have really strong brands in Sweden. You should also have quick and fast like sales cycles. You should see some really good results only like in a few seconds, like really good demos. And I think one startup that is doing this really well is Legora. They are working with enterprise customers, helping them with their legal work and NDAs and stuff like that. And they are growing really fast. And they had the Silicon Valley mindset of being a part of the Velocity program, traveling with the equity and others to Silicon Valley. That's how they started. And then they have been a part of Y Combinator. So really like building a global first mindset, having a Swedish customer to start with, one of the biggest law firms that could really prove that they are something. And then they have just like continued, and they are growing really, really rapidly. So think big, don't be shy, go bold or go home kind of, and then try to secure as many customers as possible quickly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
B2B then. I mean, like, because we're looking at ARR, we're looking at subscription rates, and then all of a sudden we get into someone who's working much longer sales cycles. I mean, like selling enterprise sales for something that is more sort of harder to get into the core of the enterprise. If you have some great ideas, but it's more B2B or in physical and industrial AI.
Yeah, I mean, we have some some really good example. In Gothenburg, for example, we have mostly B2B customers close to the automotive industry. Some of them have done some really good work together with Volvo, which is like, a global brand, and that took some time, but then they could go to Silicon Valley and through our network get the opportunity to get customers like Toyota's AI Lab. They got NVIDIA as a really big customer, one of the startups, because they are building the Omniverse platform. So I think going to Silicon Valley when you proved yourself with, in this case, the biggest brand in the world, which is a Swedish brand.
So it's the same. It's actually a good thing either way, B2B, B2C then. Even if the sales cycles.
B2C, I would say for you can build in Sweden, then you have to put so much effort into the marketing part. So you can go and take the real big money in Silicon Valley from investors if you're a B2C startup, and that is exciting. That's what we have seen with Lovable and others. But you just have to put so much time and effort into being smart when it comes to market yourself and grow as fast as possible, because time is of essence.
So timing is a really big thing here.
Yeah, and also building really good products, because otherwise you will never win.
Speaking about products, and you also mentioned enterprises and Volvo and Gothenburg and companies like that. And I think, as a startup, you can get into the enterprise world, because a startup can move faster and potentially, help them with some way. But I'd like to just flip that a bit and say, if you are an enterprise now, you're Volvo or something, and you're all feeling the FOMO, so to speak, that they are, trailing behind, and some competitor will, move faster with AI, etc. But I think, sometimes they are so focused on products and miss out on actually the people that they have, the employees, and the business processes that they do have.
Yep.
So I think, sometimes an enterprise, they may have some nice products actually. Of course, they should be AI optimized as well, but they can do something with AI that the startup never could, which is actually to optimize their own, people, make them AI empowered, and also processes, and actually a very good use case as well. So what I'm trying to say is that AI shouldn't just be to improve and empower a product. That's important, but for existing companies.
Yep, knowledge workers and
But
I agree.
internal workflows, to remove internal friction is a massive thing, of course.
And then, I've studied so much about, how Tesla works and how they operate internally, and how they use AI for a lot of their internal processes and for the people. And, I'm amazed how much they do. And I think any company that don't start to think that way, not for the product, but just how they operate, internally, they will get left behind, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, coming back to Volvo as a good example, they had a really big performance at the CES conference last year, or this year actually in January, and they were the main keynote, and they talked about this transformation where they went from having 3 strategic collaborations with software companies, and now they have 50. So they realized that it's not possible for them to build everything themselves, but they should use AI in a greater extent for everything.
Yes.
And collaborations is the way forward here, which is really important. And I agree with you. I mean, in big companies, they have a lot of domain knowledge, and in Sweden you can work for a company for 20 years, and that's not even weird. It's like how you do it. So to focus on your knowledge workers and to make them better at what they're doing is really an investment worth doing. Yeah. So, but in big companies, I believe in we are working a lot on this change management. How should you apply AI? How mass trainings, having internal champions in different groups. I've seen different strategies that worked at companies, and I don't have the answer, but I think that if the leadership really truly believe that this is the transformation they would like to go on, I think then it's when it's really going to happen, and that you can see in the investments, like how much have they actually invested in this. And we will see. We can already see now that a few companies are not even thinking of it as a serious thing. Then, of course, it will have an impact in a few years.
And just continuing on the question about people and employees, and I know you're a strong advocate for women as well in tech.
Yes.
Can you just elaborate a bit more from your own side? What kind of challenges do you see? I mean, you're obviously successful in the field, but still, if you were to just think more a bit about the challenges that potentially women have to get further in AI and tech, what would you say?
I mean, looking at founders, it's a lot of buzz around like cracked founders right now, and people are, working day and night to build stuff. But it's very rare that we see any female founders being able to do that. And when you're, especially in Silicon Valley, the best startup founders are usually around your 30 to 40s, and that's also the same time that you are thinking of building a family. Nice. So to be able to do that, you have to have the entire support system behind you. So I think we are in an era where that is changing. At least in Sweden, we are really good at supporting each other. We have the opportunity to get kids work from home. You can work from your computer, you can travel, you can do stuff. So I meet a lot of really strong female engineers and founders. And
isn't that a perfect example of where Valhalla actually is better than the Valley? Because
definitely.
At least for women, we have better opportunities then to actually make a career here. Right?
I have one of my best friends. She's a AI lead at Meta. She was previously a founder of a startup together with Andrew Yang, and she have done like an amazing career. She's one of the best AI engineers in, I would say, Silicon Valley. But she had, when she worked prior to Meta a year ago, she worked at Accenture as the global AI lead, and she was responsible for 8 different continents, meaning she had to stay up for meetings all over the clock. And they paid her to froze her eggs so she could actually work more and longer. And now she had been struggling for 2 years with the EVF process, and unfortunately it didn't work. So she had this false belief that, they paid for this frozen egg program that they have for all the women. They have that at many of the big companies, and now
I haven't heard about that story.
No, it's interesting. So now they and that's not like you can't. That is sad.
But you have led us into another dimension of entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
And this is life balance. Mm-hmm. And if we want to talk life balance, is very, very interesting to talk about that angle with you.
Yeah.
Even the way you have managed as a family to live 3 months in the valley and then back and forth. You have 3-year-olds now, but could you paint a picture for the listeners what I'm talking about, and then lead it into your thinking or rant on this topic? I think you obviously thought about this a lot, and you're making it work.
Yeah, I love my work. That is like, I have that top of mind all the time, and I think that's my first baby. But then I have a almost 4-year-old. The first time we traveled to Silicon Valley together, she was 3 months old, and we struggled to get all the vaccines done before we came over to Palo Alto. I walked with my stroller back and forth, having like online meetings in my headphones in the morning and late afternoon with, especially early mornings because of all the people in Sweden. We walked back and forth on the Hamilton Avenue, which is the same street as Mark Zuckerberg. So after a while, his guards actually started to follow me because they thought I was a spy.
Stalker.
Typical stalker, having a stroller. So that was a really fun story. But yeah, my now she's almost 4. She has been visiting. I have a lot of friends at Meta, at Google, and other places. So I bring her, and she loves going there, eating ice cream.
Yeah, you said that. Her favorite, is it the Google ice cream or the Meta? That's best.
The Meta is better. They have a much cuter pink ice cream shop. But they have, one story that I have a friend that works with HR at Meta, and she told me that the reason why they built like an entire city in the Meta office is actually because of the 10x engineers, because a lot of the people that are really smart and good developers, they are also scared of doing new things. So when you come into Meta, you have your own, the doctors, the kindergarten, they have a lot of restaurants, they have a lot of coffee shops. You never need to leave the office. You can meet the same people every day, and that they know that they can't compete on salaries. You can always offer someone a higher salary, but you can't offer them a safe environment. Right. So that is all created for the very few people that actually don't want to leave that environment. So that's the reason why that's a really amazing headquarter. But yeah, and we with my kid, she said last night when I read a Moomin story, she said that Moran is she's so cold, so she doesn't have any friends. But with the humanoid we met that figure, they could actually become friends because they are not cold. So she's already thinking of the Silicon Valley mindset within her play, and it's really fun. So it's one way of living.
But your lifestyle, it works, of course, because your husband can share the same rhythm with what he's doing. Did that just evolve, or was that something that you two, before even you had kids, you realized that this is how we want to design our lives? Or how did you come there?
We took so we have been together for a very long time, 12 years now. So even before my first trip to Silicon Valley, he has always had the similar lifestyle, but we had some kind of decisions that we made. He got a really, really big offer to be responsible for one of the biggest AI initiatives at a big company in Sweden. But I was really into, what I'm doing. So we took the decision to not do that right now. So of course, sometimes you have to, because that wouldn't be able.
Then he would have been stuck in that initiative rather than being able to follow the rhythm.
Yeah, and he will probably need to travel all the time, and I will be home with kids not being able to work. So it was a decision that we took together. But it's not, I understand that this is not a lifestyle for everyone, but it's basically just being able to work behind the computer, having digital meetings all the time. People doesn't even know where you're based, which make it possible. So I think the post-COVID era makes it possible for a lot of women to actually work and have kids.
Interesting. Great. And perhaps if we were to move a bit more into philosophical topics, AI, of course, can help with so many things, and it can also help with technology and meetings and all the things that enable women to actually do work in different ways. But I guess there are a lot of challenges as well, and perhaps it would be interesting to just hear, in general sense, what do you consider the more ethical challenges and considerations maybe as we get more and more AI empowered, if you call it that?
What I'm scared of is actually in this change, the knowledge and all the information that now you can actually know everything about the person, and the big companies know more about you than yourself. So that is what scares me the most.
Did you hear the example of, I think it was a Google ad thing, where Google ads can track you so well, what you're doing and your behavior, and it was a female that suddenly started to see a lot of ads for diapers or something. Yes. Right? and then it turned out she was pregnant.
Yeah, and she didn't know it.
Yeah.
I remember that one. I thought it was how I remember it was also, I had maybe it was a similar story where someone else in the same house started to see the dad started to see all these diapers,
they got the direct marketing email mail for diaper discounts to who she was living at home.
Exactly.
And her and this is how everybody found out.
Yeah. Exactly. And I mean,
It's a couple of years
I mean,
ago.
you can figure out so much from data, and people, I don't think, understand that really.
exactly. And now you see people traveling to the US and they're not allowed to enter the border because they liked something about someone, you know. So it's really in some sense, I think it's scary. But also on the opposite side, I think there is, I mean, it will help us live longer, and you will be able to have a much better life. I mean, we're working a lot on, for example, Apple Heart study, where you could in Sweden right now get the Apple Watch and you can live your life as normal, and you can follow the heart from home, which is, you know, one way of using this physical AI movement as an enabler for a lot of people to live a normal life. And this is what is a huge opportunity in Sweden, because we trust the system, we trust our government, which means that we can use new technology much easier than we in the US.
I mean, this is the big game. How much investment should we do in preventive healthcare versus the other way around? You know, and this is such an obvious business case and an obvious better for society, and it's a big but. You need to then do the work, trust the system. In order for that, preventive healthcare means you need to show them the data.
But I think she has a good point. We do have a big trust in both tech and the government in Valhalla, which actually provides us with an opportunity to actually potentially gain more benefits.
I mean, it would be easier to sort out preventive from a cultural perspective in Sweden than in many other places, simply because of this.
And we have, as one of my strongest focus areas is AI in precision health. And that's because it's one of the strongholds, and we have the biggest opportunities here in Sweden due to this. So we can, one of the products I'm deeply involved in is where you use your Apple Watch to detect sudden death. And that means people...
Sudden death?
Yeah, sudden death is when you die of a heart disease that you didn't know of. You are healthy in all other areas. You have no history in your family, but you can use the smartwatch. This could be Apple Watch, or it could be a Fitbit or whatever, with an EKG, and then you
indicate before.
Yeah, so what they have done, and this is actually in back to Marcus Lingman and Region Halland, together with Sia Obermeyer from UC Berkeley, they have find a way to not only detect and see deviations using large language models, and they have actually built an AI that could tell. So that means that a person or a doctor couldn't see the differences between a sick person and a not a sick person, but an AI can. And that means that in Region Halland, they did something really cool. Instead of just collecting, they went out to everyone that lived in the region and said, do you want to be part of sharing your data or not? And it was only 8 people that said no. So
Sweden.
In Sweden. And that is one really good example.
We trust the tech, right?
We trust the tech, and it makes... and they don't have... so now they can do a lot of preventive health, which will give back to the entire region and to Sweden in general. So at Stanford, for example, is privately owned, which means that the hospital, the Stanford School of Medicine, if they should do anything, they could do it, but it's a very small study.
But speaking about health, and health is, of course, a very regulated area. And if we speak about the Valley versus Valhalla, one big difference is regulation then, of course. I'm not sure if you want to go into this topic, but the Trump actually recently in the summer made a big AI action plan where one of the biggest point was really that you want to minimize regulation and really maximize the innovation possibilities for AI. And then some people claim that Europe then is taking the opposite route here and adding more and more regulations for companies, and it's also like a rather fragmented situation where each country in Europe have different ways to implement these regulations, which cause potentially some problems. Or what do you think?
I mean, yes, I think GDPR, for example, was really like it bans so much innovation to happen. People were so scared, so they just decided to not do anything. And I mean, we are using all the data that is created from social media and is US. So we don't own anything ourselves. The only thing we have is health data and from industry data. So I think that's a big lost opportunity for so many years. And that's also why I'm quite surprised that we are actually having Silicon Valley at the moment at all, because I wouldn't see that coming. So I think it's a big mistake that we are going that way. I'm on the other side, personally, I think it's good because I don't want, as I said, the integrity is really important.
And it could be the strength. I mean, I think no one argues about the intention of the AI Act and GDPR, etc. But then the question is how it should be implemented. And you know, we've spoken about this so many times on this podcast, but you know, to at least know before the law becomes enacted how to become compliant could be a good idea, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's not. It wasn't for GDPR. People, you know, just the uncertainty of how to become compliant caused a lot of fear, and now the same thing is happening again.
And
exactly, it causes fear. That's the big thing, that you don't even know how to. You're so scared, so you don't do anything at all.
Yeah. So this legal uncertainty we're talking about, and we talked especially about this a lot in the last episode with Louise from ASSA ABLOY, who is really strong in this area, ex-Ericsson. And I mean, like, so we talk about the act coming, and in reality what we really are all waiting for is the harmonized standards around this. What I can even live with to some degree, that there is a due course here, as we talked about, Louise. You cannot get to due standards until you've done certain. You need to lock it as something to work against. Fine. What annoys me over and over is that we have defined the definition of done too short. We have not fucking looked the life cycle of the law, and so when you look at the investment, it's the same. It's the same thing as we are invention focused, not adoption focused. So it's the same problem when I have a cool tech idea and I want to bring that into Scania, and it ends up on the prototype graveyard.
Yeah,
it's the same fucking problem.
I mean, it's a good point. I mean, we have forgotten the change management required. We just build a prototype, right, more or less, but we haven't really built a product and how to adopt it.
So once again, think big.
Exactly. Yeah, I think. I mean, that is sad, and
it is right. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, but still, perhaps we should move to the last topic. But okay, do you? In some way, you can argue that if you compare the Valley to Valhalla, it could potentially be a benefit as well if we just got away from this uncertainty that we have. So, I mean, if we know that Swedish or European companies do have to comply with good regulation, which I think is no one that don't want to have any regulation, of course. We want to have good regulation, but that could potentially cause that companies in Europe and Sweden become more popular because you can trust them in some sense.
Exactly. I agree. That is one good thing. And we have a good brand. I mean, in Europe and in Sweden especially, we have a really good reputation. People trust the companies, what we're doing. So I mean, I don't think we should try to, at least not from the bigger companies' perspective, we shouldn't try to build. We should adapt and use what is out there, and don't be scared of doing so, because I think AI Act is so much better than, for example, GDPR. They have actually thought about a lot of things, but people just have to read it and understand how it applies to their specific area.
Because if you think about, if you flip it, if we crack harmonized standards, if we crack that we pour a lot of investment into having, I mean, like TEFs and everything like the sandboxes, so it's in Swedish, det ska vara lätt att göra rätt. It should be easy to do it the right way. Then all of a sudden, that opens up, that together with our culture of trust in the system, and that therefore actually sharing data in different ways, it could flip the whole arena.
Yeah.
But it becomes more and more obvious what you need to pour a lot of money in to crack it to engineering standards, not just legal standards.
No, definitely. Yes.
I mean, I think no one disagrees with the goal from EU Commission, etc., to have trustworthy AI. I mean, that would be perfect, and we shouldn't lose that. I think we should keep that, and that should be the edge that we do have here.
Yeah.
It's just that we need to crack it properly with harmonized standards or something else.
Yeah.
Minna, time is flying away here, and I'd like to ask you a very simple question. I'm being very ironic. It's a very hard question. But still, if we believe, or do you believe that we will have AGI at some point in the future?
Yes.
You will start that, yes. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I have been interested in this field for quite some time. I think there is some really, really good researchers in Silicon Valley, especially at UC Berkeley, actually, within this field. Talking about robotics, for example, I had a roundtable that I hosted for a few years within the field, how to use AI and AGI to accelerate that usage. So yeah, I think it will take some time before it's actually common used, but there is
3, 5, 15, 50.
I would say 5 years, maybe.
Are you distinguishing AGI in a lab versus out broadly?
Exactly, that's the question, because I think in the lab, yes, already existing.
Almost, yeah, or existing even.
I think it is existing, but I think it's similar to the discussion about quantum computing, right?
No, it's not similar. Don't go there. Don't go there.
But I mean, on the time, you can argue. I mean, in Silicon Valley, I was waiting for the AI boom for many years before it happened, so it's hard to tell. But I think AGI, it's interesting. I think I brought 2 kids to the world, so I'm a believer that we will have a better world, that we will work humans and AI together, and I think we will soon live so much longer with all the technology out there, so we will be able to focus so much more on our health. I think that the big change will be that people would focus mainly on living a healthy life and the life they want, and then secondly on the work, instead of working and then like prioritizing a few activities afterwards.
So it sounds like you're pushing to the positive side of this, but there could be a negative side, and it could be AI used for to create World War III if it's not already started.
That's the dark side I see. I mean, we have a lot of investments in defense. It's the fastest growing industry right now. That is probably the first application for AGI already. And a few years ago in Europe, at least, we focused all the funding on green transition. I never even hear people talk about that anymore. It's all about defense innovation. So yeah, I see that. I mean, Mark Zuckerberg put all his own money into building an island on, Escape Island. So if you are behind the big companies and you are such a strong believer in that will end the world, then, and building an escape route, of course, that's something. What do
you think? If we take the 2 extremes here, one could be the very dystopian, like the Matrix, or the Terminator with the Skynet coming and machine killing us all, etc. Or the more utopian version, where I'm not sure if you see Nick Boström's The Deep Utopia book, but they speak about the future and a world of abundance where we have AI that solved a lot of our health issues, cured cancer, and so much more. And we have no energy dependency anymore. We have more or less free energy. And basically the cost of goods and services go towards zero in some sense. Where do you think we will end up in some way?
I think we will end up in both, meaning that a few people on the world, very fortunate people like us and people in Silicon Valley and other areas, will have a really good life. They will continue to have a better life, a longer life, a more healthy life. You will work less and have a better, you will live longer. But then we will see even more wars and other parts of the world where people will die in millions, and it will not affect my life and your life, but we will have less people on Earth. But the rich and fortunate will be having an even better life, and I think the poor ones will have a even worse.
So you think the divide is growing? You
Yes.
think the inequalities is growing?
Yes, I think so. And I think that is one of the big, if I look into the future, I think a few companies will grow faster and bigger. And I think also the differences in Silicon Valley, it's like differences between being really poor, living on the street, which they have a lot of, and the rich, normal people is huge and is growing.
Even in Palo Alto.
Especially in San Francisco, because in Palo Alto the police is taking them to East Palo Alto, which is one of the most dangerous places. But yes,
I mean, it's a good metaphor in some sense in the valley, because it's such a big difference, and you have a lot of homeless people there and a lot of people doing crack and whatnot, and then you have the super rich, so it's a huge difference of class there, which could potentially spread to the rest of the world in some sense.
Yeah, I think that's the future. That the differences between people will be so much bigger, and we unfortunately that will have. I mean, that is the quite sad future.
But isn't this then one of the key goals or missions we need to have? How we create inclusivity, diversity, and battle the AI divide, so to speak. So as an anecdote, that was part of the mission statement why we started this pod.
Yeah.
Because we think, how do we get more people to be how do we close the AI divide, so to speak, or how do we make sure Sweden is not on the wrong side of the AI divide? But what are we fundamentally doing, or what becomes important in order to minimize the divide, or not just to happen in certain way, but steering it for good, so to speak? What do you think about that?
That's a good question. I think what we put both our effort but also funding into. So as I said, we see a lot of movement into defense and other areas right now, which is, maybe not the only use case that we should focus on, but we could also the power. I mean, a few companies have really good intentions to make the world a better place, and focus on how to actually solve cancer, how to solve the energy and the transformation towards a more sustainable world. I think that is really good opportunities we can have. We are already forefront in Sweden on thinking in these terms, but that is what we could contribute with and inspire the rest of the world. So sharing success stories and really be forefront in the Nordic values.
Yeah. I'm trying to keep that kind of culture perhaps in the Valhalla and not in that at least aspect be inspired by the valley, because then we have something better here in Sweden at least than the Nordics, right?
That's what we think, and I think so.
Yeah. Well, let's hope that we bring the best of the valley to the Valhalla, but not the worst then. And if we do that, it could be a really beautiful future here in Valhalla, right?
I agree. Everyone should tap into the Silicon Valley ecosystem, but let's build and let's create the strong Nordic values based on the Nordic values.
Sounds amazing. Perfect ending, I think. Thank you so much, Minna Sandberg, for coming here, and I hope you can stay on for some future off-camera discussions. But it's been a pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. It was a great pleasure. Thank you.